All right, and we're back. I'm excited. I'm your host, Maria Christine, on the Awaken with Maria podcast. And I am really excited today to introduce my guest who I have here. I have Ron, who is a sound meditation expert, facilitator, someone who I have had the honor to be at a couple of his shows, actually, right here in Rochester, Minnesota, a few years back. And we just recently reconnected on Instagram. And as part of this series of living in your purpose, I really want to highlight other people who are doing something that's maybe not traditional, but honestly doing what is part of their passion and their purpose. So, Ron, thank you so much for joining us.
Welcome.
I'm so excited. I would love to know a little bit more about you because, admittedly, in the times that I've been able to attend one of your performances, it was, at one of the local yoga studios in town, and it was like just come in, get into that meditative state, and ultimately your music just, puts people into that really dropped in state.
Mm.
But I've always wanted to meet the person behind the music. So can you share just a little bit more about yourself, and how
Sure.
you got into this work?
I've been a musician my whole life, and that's actually the kind of way I best try to describe what I do is um I'm a musician, basically. The idea of like, and I've kind of like tried to wrap my head around or kind of understand the Western kind of idea of sound meditation and sound baths and frequency healing and these kind of these terms that are used. But I really look at it as this is just an extension of my path as a musician. I mean, I've like mu music has always been around. I'm Polish heritage, so polka and just kind of like
Um,
drawn into music's always been there. So I always wanted to be I was a rock drummer for those are my first bands when I was 16,
really?
Yeah, yeah. So I was hooked. I mean, I always wanted to be a drummer, and I used to play, fake drums in my basement made out of, the classic story of pots and pot lids or whatever, you know,
Yeah,
jamming
yeah.
to all these 80s songs.
Okay.
And yeah, so I just, I went through my path in my 20s of touring and being with bands and just kind of, really wanted to be a professional musician,
Okay.
or
Okay.
a rock star if we want to be blunt, right?
I love it. I
And
love it.
yeah, so and I continued to play, all the way up in playing drums up into my 40s and stuff like that. But by my mid 30s, I was, kind of like the classic self-awareness thing. Like, you start having these these questions, you start questioning everything and like what's the purpose and that ended in me starting to engage different types of meditation. But for me, it really kind of like the kind of like the crack in the armor, actually really seeing the benefits of really what um, sound is. Like this is even the term sound is just it's just kind of like I don't think it gives it enough emphasis or credibility to what it really is. Even when we use the term energy, well, what's energy, right? That's just us kind of giving it a label, right?
Yes, yes. I feel
So
like you're right. I feel like a lot of these terms have become so mainstream and
yeah, yeah,
trendy that like it
yeah.
almost loses the gravity. But I no, I really appreciate you also just sharing like, I opened with like I think of you as like a sound meditation facilitator because
Sure,
that's
that's
how we
fun too.
met.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
truly, I really appreciate you bringing the richness of also just like your musician background as well,
Yeah,
and like this journey of how you've ended up in this form because you're right. I honestly sometimes don't even know what to call it because when I turn on, we were just mentioning like I have a couple of your albums on my phone, and when I
mm,
turn it on, I don't know what it does, but it just truly helps me drop into flow and drop into state,
sure.
and I can't
Yeah.
put words to it, right? People just have to experience it themselves.
Well, and the thing is, you can kind of look at this in two different factors, at least as far as like two kind of like I don't know if you want to use the term segue, right? But the initial one was I really started geeking out on, and I don't even know how I even got in this rabbit hole, but I was there's I think it was called the Pyramid Code, and it was a Canadian. I think she's a Canadian archaeologist, and someone can fact check or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure her name is Carmen Boutier. It's French, and I probably just destroyed it. But she made this five-part series called the Pyramid Code, I believe, and a lot of it was kind of different, not mainstream, like astrophysicists, astroarchaeologists, like Robert Bauval, um, and God, she had a slew of other people in it. I just can't remember. I think Graham Hancock was possibly in there as well. But, they were basically looking at like talking about these different theories and really what this Giza plateau was. And
Ah,
that's I mean, there's guys like Chris Dunn who's been on a bunch of like current podcasts. He's really done some things. He wrote this book called the Giza Power Plant. But anyways, through that movie, these movies, it kind of like fired up this thing of like understanding. So I'm in IT, right? So I understand reverse engineering and looking at analytical aspects. But then as the musician side is there's things that you're going to experience that you can't put into words, you can't put it down on a piece of paper. It's just
yes.
something that is, right? And
Yes.
that's meditation, right? It's a personal experience.
100%.
But within there, as I saw that there was this thing with certain ratios, right? And I basically came upon the idea that there's a certain tuning scale that even if you listen to, so when I started using the scale, interesting enough, when I was listening to some like Indian classical music, I found that their tonic or their root note tuning was more in line with that tuning than Western tuning. In all actuality, a lot of Indian musicians actually tune into a Western tuning modality to kind of be more lockstep with what's going on in the Western world, right?
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah.
So think about this. So when, because I don't know the roots or how far back Hindustani in Carnatic and Indian classical music is referred to goes back, but their understanding of music is based off of, at least from conversation with my vocal teacher, Joshi Narasimha. I probably just murdered his last name too. He basically, I was asking him about this. I'm like, when I talk to people at these shows, I don't want to use the word sound meditation. I don't want to use the word sound healing. I really want to, you know, try to emphasize really what I've gotten from Indian culture as far as the music. And you know, he's like,
Yeah.
you can call it Nada Yoga, you can call it Nada Brahma, right? There's this great book out. I think it's called, oh my God. Oh, I wish I could think of the author. I don't have it with me.
Yes, share it
But
with me because I can always drop it in the show notes after too.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but basically he was saying, you can use one of these terms, right? Because in my understanding of it, and the way I always describe it is their tuning system at its root, at its inception, for the most part, is based on this idea that nada, right? Sound or whatever,
Yeah.
is of creation. Creation is
Mm.
of sound, vice versa, right? And
Yes.
so when you start on a tuning system or a musical idea based on that, you've based it off of a pure idea, right? And everything that branches off of that is already based off of a pure idea versus, you know, um, the kind of Western tuning system. Because the thing is, when you look at like a sitarist, or if actually when you study Indian classical music,
Yeah.
so for every Western scale octave, you've got 12 notes per octave, right?
Yep.
Indian classical music has 24 to 26 per octave. So think about all those spaces that you're missing, or all those sonic spaces. Because when you
Wow.
sit at a piano, you can't you can't play any of these tivra or komal notes, right? Tivra meaning like it's almost like saying sharp sharp, or komal means like flat flat, right?
Oh, that's so interesting. And you're talking to someone who I played piano for like 12 years. So like
Yeah. Hmm.
those are the
Yeah.
sounds that I'm used to. So you're saying that there's sounds from the Indian sound that like you can't do on the piano.
No, you can't. Yeah, because they're just the keys aren't there. You just don't have those. So when you look at someone playing sitar, they can play all those funky notes because they have the platform for it, right?
Interesting. Okay, I did not even know that. Okay.
Yeah, so like even with the musical voices, once you start singing, so their system, and I'm not going to dive too much of into it because I've only been studying, Indian classical music, like singing, uh, tabla, and latest the bansuri, right? But it all ties in together. But their
Yeah.
system of raga, right, it's a definition based on a sequence of notes or swaras, as they say, and they call this sequence of note like a bakar, right? The wadi is some wadi, right? And each raga has its own flavor, right? And the thing is to be able to define something by a flavor, and where you can hear it and you know that that's the raga, it just it kind of it really lends to really how powerful and rich like that musical system is. So within the
Yeah.
last couple of years, I've really not last couple of years, 5, 6 years, I've really been heavily influenced by Indian classical music. But what I will end off on this aspect of it is, and where I'm at now is, so what when you saw me, right? I was just singing Himalayan singing bowls, and I play a shruti box, which is a 13 note kind of it's a harmonium type, right?
Yes, and that's I think
And
what
then
we're hoping to give people a preview of because I had never seen that before. And
the
I
what? The shruti box?
the
Okay.
box thing.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so that's why everything you played is something that I had never heard of before, and it just
Mm.
hits you differently. But yeah, so continue.
Yeah.
But yes, that was
No
new to
worries, no
me.
worries. Yes, no, it's fine. So the shruti box is basically just a single octave version of a harmonium, right?
Mm.
Same idea, right? Whereas a harmonium, you press a key, it opens a sound hole, and the air goes past a brass reed and creates that note. Shruti boxes, you just manually open the ports and then squeeze it, right?
Uh,
So when I first started, that's all I was doing is Himalayan singing bowls, the Shruti box, and then throat singing. And I
yes,
did that for a while. But what I found is that was too static for me. It's sure for the audience that could have been like, oh, this is, and that's great. And people had good experiences and there's really good feedback. But for me is it's about progression, right? You just like your practice, your music or your art needs to progress, right? So I
absolutely.
found it was pretty stagnant. And so that's when I reached out to a sitarist and he kind of really introduced me to the Indian classical music. And the beauty about a Indian classical concert is this, right? When these musicians, from wherever their background, get together and decide they're going to perform together,
Hmm.
right? And keep in mind, for the most part, I'm generalizing, right?
Yeah,
Um, they have an agreed upon tuning for the most part at the beginning of the concert. They all tune to each other. Typically, they'll tune to the harmonium if there's a harmonium, or they'll tune to something that's static, right?
yeah.
Typically the tempura, like a four stringed instrument that's playing the sa and the pa, which is basically the root in the fifth, right? Sa
Mhm.
and pa is the root in the fifth. And that creates that drone, right? And so this is the background for them to create with each other. And the beauty of it is it's like they'll play a raga, right? But there's nothing, it's not a pre-written song. They'll do a performance of an hour plus 3 hours, all based off of a raga, right? And that's kind of where I've gotten to recently is in the last couple tours is I have my note that I'm performing in, and then I have my drone, which is based on that note. But then off of that, I will go back and I'll sing mantra, I'll throat sing, and then I'll switch in the bansuri, where the bansuri and the vocal melody are playing off of each other,
Oh,
right?
wow.
Yeah, but the
So
thing
it's a lot
is
more
it's all
dynamic.
correct, and it's completely in the moment. So, sometimes there's a little bit of mistakes. The audience probably doesn't even know,
Right, right.
but well, not to, downplay the audience. But it's what it allows for is that meditative aspect of being vulnerable in the moment to what's happening, right? Because that's an extension of your practice is vulnerability, being able to be willing to let it go wherever it needs to be, right? And that's where the music is, and that's where the magic is. Like playing with my sitarist in the last tour, I mean, it's the same thing. Like he'll play a movement, and then I'll play, and literally we do two songs, hour and 20 minutes.
Wow.
We'll look at each other like, what just happened to 40? Because literally 40 minutes goes by like you just walked up to go get some coffee. Because you just get zoned out. You just get just zonked.
That's
And
wild.
I got to look at my computer, make sure the timing, and then I'm kind of like cycling it in or out depending. Because yeah, yeah,
You just
yeah.
go.
So,
You just go. Oh my gosh.
oh yeah,
That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
Now I'm going to have you plug some more of your upcoming events and things, but
sure.
before we do that, I really want to like pause a second because I think as someone who's also like been in her purpose and path and it's like it's always a journey and I
Yeah.
think we can like fast forward or gloss over parts, but I want to go back to this part though where you're saying you are a musician, but you were doing more what we might call, I don't know, traditional music as like a rocker, wanted to be a rock star, doing the drums,
Mhm.
went on your own deeper self-awareness journey, began doing more maybe with meditation, and now shifted into this work that you get to do
Mhm.
now.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, yeah, Ron the human, Ron the ego self, Ron the person who thought
Mhm.
you were going to be like, I don't know, a rock star one day. How
Sure.
was that in that transition and to now, the version of you that's doing this, which is, it feels like it's fully expressed, it's authentic, but it is not mainstream, right? It's not theoretically what you're going to turn on to the radio and find. It's not where people are like rocking out at like a rock concert, right? It's just maybe different than what you had thought. So,
Yeah.
how did you, Ron, I don't know, kind of like move through that transition and how do you feel about it now? Like, do you feel so grateful that this is where you landed and it feels like where you were meant to be, if that makes sense?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Because the thing is, that rock star thing is, it's just, that very kind of like, it's just an extension of you needing a person needing some type of acceptance from others, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, the thing is, I had a great time. It was, I mean, I love being a rock drummer, and I love like that. Those were the finding those first initial spaces of meditation where, I used to just be able to close my eyes and just get after it, and like and I mean, you're playing in front of big crowds and people are, you look out in the pit and people are going ape shit. It's just like, it's like my wife's parents, they came and saw, they came and saw me at like it was a Cedar Fest in Minneapolis, and so where they set up this Cedar Fest in this big truck platform, and there was thousands of people, and there's this pit going on, and I'm up there and I got my shirt off, I'm all my svelte 20s, and I got this big pot leaf on my bass drum, and it's like my wife, my wife who was like, was she probably 19 at the time or whatever, she's there with her parents, and I think her sister was there with her
Oh,
husband as well, and it's just like, it was such a great time.
it
But
was
the
a
thing
whole
is,
vibe. It was a whole thing. Yeah.
for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
that's where I wanted to be at that time. But then, you kind of see the cracks in your own armor. Like,
Yes.
there's just nothing, there's nothing there anymore, right? Like
Yeah. It
when I
wasn't
was,
fueling you in the same way.
no, and it just, but I wasn't meditating at that time, until my mid 30s, and, really kind of like, just I don't know if self-destructive is the right term, but aware enough that I needed music needed to change something. I wanted to do something for myself.
Yeah.
I was tired of being a drummer for other musicians and their musical path and stuff. And
Yeah, yeah. Was
I
that
mean,
was it scary at all? Like, so can you speak
no.
to, was it scary when you started? Okay, it sounds like you knew. You were like so ready to dive into your own thing. And then did you have to deal with any like naysayers or just anybody that was just kind of like, what's Ron doing? Like he left the just traditional mainstream music and now he's doing this. Like, did you have to deal with just any people and more so in your like
Uh,
close proximity circle maybe who I don't know. I think sometimes that's why people are afraid to shift or leap because they don't know what other people think. And at the end of the day, you just have to follow
sure.
your path.
Correct. No, I've always been a very kind of person who's understood what they want in a way, or very, very bullheaded and very kind of like something needs to change and I'm going to make a change.
Yeah.
And, and naysayers and all that stuff is never really, I don't know. Again, I was kind of grew up by myself, so I'm kind of a very kind of lone wolf, but obviously my wife is a huge she's huge supporter, and she and I like
Yeah.
the last band that I was really in was a cover band with her for like 3 or 4 years. She's just a super great singer, right?
No way.
And she
You guys like were collabing together.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I would it was we were kind of like doing top 40 stuff.
That's
And
awesome.
I would create backing tracks based off of like Lady Gaga songs, Pink, Katy Perry, and all that stuff. So I would create the backing tracks, and then I would run the backing tracks and then play the drums. And I was kind of like the orchestrator of it, if you want to use that term. I would book the gigs, kind of, I was the head pain in the ass. And I was giving my wife shit. Like we would do a show and poop, she's off. I'm back to the hotel, has her Jimmy John's, falls asleep, and I still got to pack up gear for 2 hours. I'd go back, she'd be out. Should frickin' singers, but no,
That sounds
but
like
no.
a
So
fun
then,
season, like you said, that
oh
was
yeah,
that was a
we
season.
had such a great time. I mean, I loved it. I do miss it. But the thing is, I don't miss the constant work to make it, and then being judged from people from clubs with their own ego problems because they would mix us in with DJs and it was like this weird kind of ego mesh.
Oh gosh,
And I
yeah.
would always get like super, my ego would crank up and be like, listen, man, I've been a musician my whole life. Like, we're playing covers. Like, you guys are gonna judge us on playing too many Lady Gaga covers? I'm like, okay, whatever, I mean, the thing is I found I was because I'd take like an edible, and hopefully my nieces and nephews gonna give me shit. So I would take like an edible, and then I would have like a few beers, and then throughout the whole night, I'm still running this, playing a 3 hour set.
Oh my
But I
gosh.
was doing that. Well, I was doing that to put myself into that kind of space
Yes,
that
you had to
immediately
be in the right state to deal with all of
because I
that,
was
I'm
just like, I'm
sure.
playing covers, I'm like, if I'm gonna get into it, I'm gonna get into it. And then I saw like this isn't what I'm meant to be doing. So,
Yeah,
and then just
yeah.
moved on and just kind of like,
Just
you
turn
know,
the page. You just turn the page, it sounds like.
yeah. Well, because the thing is, all the skills I learned from doing the booking because I booked all the tours of my other bands, all
Yeah.
those skills, you're basically taking them and approaching yoga studios,
Yes.
which can be just have their own
I was gonna say,
colors.
right. Yes, I was gonna say, as much as I know, like, the spiritual industry, we like to talk about, like, there's no ego here. We're all just for humanity and the collective. I mean, at the end of the day, you're gonna find that in any industry, right? There can be a little bit of that ego and
Humans
just
are humans.
humans
Yeah.
figuring stuff out. But okay, so now I want to like share today, yeah, like what are the main things that you're currently doing? I know it sounds like you are doing some tours, and right now you're on tour right now, doing some
Yep.
gigs at different yoga studios and different places. And then also I'm curious if you would share, like, what do you see your future vision? Is there any other like future aspirations of where you want to bring this or how you want to continue to grow, your own
Oh yeah.
mission and legacy?
Yeah, yeah. So it really comes down to uh the booking part of it, right?
Yeah.
Because I book all my own tours, but I want to extend into doing more like jazz venues or kind of venues like that, like the Dakota Club or whatever. because I found what I do now is it's very applicable to kind of any venue. It doesn't, you don't have to be going for meditation to be able to sit and watch someone play chilled out music. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes, I agree. So
So
it sounds like, yeah, you want to take it beyond just, and not just, because
for
I don't
sure.
mean to downplay it either,
No,
but
no, for sure.
like yoga studios where people are coming for a meditative experience. But you're right, like
Yep.
from everything you've described and from what I've been able to even witness from your performances, I could see myself like Rochester right now. We actually have a location that I have in mind right now there because they're hosting, it's a location in town where they're hosting like some candlelight concerts lately and things like that. And I could see you being there. Like I can see you being a feature at some of these big name other places beyond, a yoga studio. So it sounds like that's
For
where you'd
sure.
like to take it.
Oh yeah, yeah. And it really comes down to booking. So, hopefully, and if you've got any people out there that know booking agents,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I was gonna
'Cause
say
the thing is,
I have some leads or conversations that we can have off the podcast that I'd
cool.
be happy to connect you with. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because the next step I'd like to go tour. I'm kicking around the idea of going like Germany or Belgium, Germany, and then up into Scandinavia, and then maybe like a 2 week tour.
That would be so
Um,
cool.
but yeah, it's one of those things. But if I was able to like, but one of my biggest kind of like influences right now is this he's not a classical guitarist, but he plays a classical guitar. His name is Estas Tone,
Okay.
and I believe he's from Mexico. But he's like I love it. He's like this classic troubadour, and he travels all over the world and just plays all these cool festivals.
That's
But for
amazing.
me, if I could wave my magic wand, I would build an ensemble, including me, my Bansuri teacher, my vocal teacher, my tabla friend, and then my sitarist friend Mark, and create this group. If we could travel the world, have all our expenses paid, maybe come back home with just a little bit in our pockets. Because I mean, I have a job. I mean, I'm close to retiring. I got about 3 or so more years before I can retire. I'm 53 and I can retire at 57.
That's
So
not bad. Like in the scheme of things, I'm
no,
sure of your whole career, which we didn't touch on it, but I do appreciate you sharing that.
it's
I
boring.
didn't know that you had had a job, but again,
Oh
I
yeah,
really want to highlight that, Ron, because I want people to know that your passion and purpose may not be your full-time job right now. Like it could be, but it might not be.
yeah,
And I just want people to know, like, always follow that nudge in your heart, even if it means like you're living in two worlds, or you know what I mean? Like you're kind of walking to,
sure,
like, it's like, it
sure,
sounds
sure.
like that's the path that you've been in. It sounds like you have an
Yeah,
IT job. Is that right?
yeah, yeah. Yeah. I'm a network engineer, like a data center engineer for
Oh,
cloud and like on-premise networks. So yeah, and I've been doing that and I got that job just because I didn't want to be a bum. It's just you know working like really crappy jobs and being a drummer and like it just there was nothing there.
right. Like a
I mean,
starving musician persona. You were like, I don't want to be that.
yeah, no, I want to have fun in life because the thing is, here's the thing here, and if I could give anyone like two pieces of advice, right?
Please do. Please.
Don't let sure, if your job is your passion ends up becoming your job, that's great. However, your passion becomes your job, then you lose the beauty of it. I'll give you a prime example.
Yeah.
I partway through my IT career in 2001. So I'm a big backcountry snowboarder, so splitboarding, and I've been doing that for 23 years. And I met these people, specifically Craig Kelly up at Baldface Lodge. And I was so influenced by or so saw something about his aura, who he was, right? And this is a
Yeah.
couple years before he was killed in an avalanche. And I was like, what is it about this guy that is just it's so magical about just his presence? And I walked away from IT for about 6 months because I went to Canada and I started studying the prerequisites to get into the ACMG, which is the Association of Canadian Mountain Guides. So you have to take avalanche. So I got level one certified with the Canadian Avalanche Association, which means
What?
operations. Yeah,
Wow.
so I can. So at the time, I could have worked at a as an avalanche forecaster or a ski patrol at Big Mountain. I took my 80-hour wilderness first aid and all these other prerequisites to get into the program. But then I was at one of my other trainings. This guy who was the lead instructor, he was recounting an incident where they found 3 or 4 people that set off an avalanche, and to see the PTSD that he had, because he literally, and this guy had been in the business for probably almost 30 years as a professional guide, right?
Wow.
Full on cowboy kind of guide. And to see he just stopped and he started crying profusely. Like, so that guy's got PTSD.
Oh, for sure.
You think of you think about how many people, probably guides, have been around that have been either seriously injured or killed. And like holding, like him talking about holding his friend who he didn't know was his friend who was in the avalanche until he got to him. He didn't even know he was there, and he got up to him. It's his friend, and he held his friend while he died in his arms, right? From just internal trauma, because avalanches, and
Oh,
so like,
yeah. I mean, the momentum. I mean, that's Mother Nature right there. All the
yeah, I'm like,
force.
nope, I don't want to be a guide. So this is my long-winded thing of sure, your passion could be a great job, but at the same time is a job can be a job. You don't have to necessarily,
Love it.
love it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Let's be real. We live in a society where you need to, healthcare is expensive, food's expensive, gas is expensive. You need these things, these human kind of things,
Yes.
unless you're going to be able to live in a cave. But if you're able to do it well enough, you can continue to pursue your passions, because as long as you don't let people not necessarily push you around, but if you stay steadfast in what you see your path is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Then pursue it. I mean, I'm able to keep a job and still do my touring and
Yes. I mean, I really want to highlight that because sometimes, I agree, sometimes you can make your job your purpose. And I will
sure,
say, I'm one of the
that's great.
lucky ones, or I mean, I left healthcare. I didn't think I'd be able to make whatever the heck I'm doing right now my full-time gig. I've been able to. Also helps that I have someone else bringing in full-time income in our house, right? So it's not like
Yeah, yeah,
it just magically happened.
yeah,
Sometimes it works out. And then also like sometimes your path winds and you go into something else. And I just want to
sure,
say for a lot of people, you still can have your job, your 9 to 5, you can get consistent benefits, you can get your needs met, and it's not an excuse to not listen when opportunity calls and
sure.
you feel this deeper passion to lean into something else. Like Ron's story is an example of just go for it. Go for it. Even if it feels crazy, even if people don't understand why you're doing it, like do the dang thing, you know?
Failure should be an option,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
you're gonna fail a lot, and the thing is, I mean, just I think about how many times I call in studios and you go to a show and no one shows up and blah blah blah. I mean, you have to. So I told my nieces and nephews this one
Yes.
time when they're younger. I can't even remember how we were talking about. We were something to do with fear, like, oh, we're afraid to do that. I'm like, I go, guys, listen to me. I go, on the other side of fear is something beautiful waiting to happen.
Yeah.
And the mountains have taught me that, right? The mountains, like backcountry skiing in the mountains, like being out there and looking at a map and like, I want to go there and figuring out how to get there and build and understanding that you're afraid. You're afraid of getting lost. You're afraid of whatever could happen. You're afraid of possible, environmental or natural instances like avalanches or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, you're building your knowledge base based off of experience, right? Because you're not allowing you know the fear, right?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, you can listen to your gut instincts and stuff like that. But that has taught me to go into the unknown
Mm.
with expectations not set and just kind of being able to roll with whatever happens. And then when you start playing with that in life, it's like, hey, being uncomfortable is fine. Being saying I don't know something is even better.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
would rather I would rather ask more questions. And this is where the IT world really can teach you because IT is full of egomaniacs, mostly dudes, right?
My husband's also in IT, so yeah.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
also
It's
deals
just
with
like,
that as well.
oh my God, it's just like people are waiting for you to screw up so they can just pounce on you like a bunch of wild animals.
Yes.
But the thing is like if you don't give a shit of your ego getting, oopsie, oh well, then tell you
Yep.
what, big deal.
Yes.
Because the thing is, if you allow that to be like caring about other people, well, if you're kind and you walk with the heart on your sleeve and you're truthful and honest, don't why would you care what anyone thinks or has to say about you? Because the thing is, they're just expressing their kind of
Their stuff.
level that they need to work on their own, you
Yes.
know.
Yes. We are
So bottom
all
line is
just
chase your
mirrors to each
passion.
other.
Yeah,
Yes.
just get after it.
Absolutely.
Whatever. Life's too short to just not to have potential regrets on. I always hear this term like sometimes when people are talking to someone on their deathbed, and they're like, that's like this common thing is I wish I would have done more.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
And it's like,
So
and it's a reminder to just go for it because you want to meet that day. Whatever your like that's a whole nother conversation, but whatever your beliefs are on the
sure.
afterlife, but you want to hit
Yeah,
that
yeah,
that final day, that final breath, and you want to know that you went for it. You did it.
for sure.
You followed your heart. You followed your passion. That's what you have been doing, Ron. This was a rich conversation. I could keep talking because I'm a talker, but
Sure.
I
Yeah.
will start to wrap this up. And also, if you're listening to this podcast, it's going to be premiering later this spring. In 2026 here, but also I'm going to be doing a feature that I'll plug down below as well in the show notes because I want to go a little bit behind the scenes with Ron. So we're hoping to be able to arrange a time where he can take us behind the scenes of one of his upcoming shows, give you guys a little bit of a preview, especially so you can just experience it. And as someone who has been in the audience with one of his performances, I highly recommend following his Instagram page, which I'll link all of that down below, getting into a room where in one of his performances. But Ron, yeah, where is the best place for people to find you and connect? What do you have upcoming? Just share that all, and then I'll also be linking things in the show notes as well.
Yeah, so if you go to my shamas.com, you'll see underneath the performances there'll be link. Um, so I usually do condensed tours. So, but if you're in Michigan or Wisconsin, but the thing is the tour will be over by the time this airs anyways.
True. But
I
yeah,
would say
what if people do want to book you? What if people are listening and they're just thinking like they might want to try to bring you to their city or
just
location
reach
or
out
just
to me.
yeah, okay.
Yeah. My emails and you can reach out to me on Instagram or you can reach out to me, shamas at Gmail. And then also, obviously support real live musicians. But if you go to my Bandcamp, and obviously there'll be a link in there.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, I'm not on Spotify because Spotify is not doing the music industry. And this is my take on it. Spotify holds this apple out, this treat out to musicians who want to be famous and have it like, hey, well, you can be on a platform. Spotify is making all this money off of musicians, right? It's just, so I'm not on Spotify. You can only find me on Bandcamp.
I
So
love it. And as someone who I've also, again, I've been in the audience, but I just want to plug that I have two of your albums, even if they are older. Um, and
I
truly,
appreciate
it's
the support
and truly, it's like the same. It's like the same thing. It's going to give you an excellent taste of the music style,
for
and
sure.
it's one of my favorite to use in meditation. And I actually love it because I think how Bandcamp works. I think it's like I have it downloaded to my phone, so whether you're on an airplane, whether you don't have connection or not have connection, doesn't matter. Like I can pull up, Ron's music and just kind of be immersed in the full experience. So I do highly recommend, and I'll
Sure.
have his Bandcamp as well down below.
Yeah, and all those recordings are all from live performances that I mix and master myself after the show. So all of that's live.
That's amazing.
All that's live.
That's
Well, cool,
amazing.
Maria. Well, hopefully
Awesome.
you guys will be able to a little snippet, and we'll see if we can make that happen.
Absolutely. All right. And so for those on the show,
All right.
thank you for listening. We'll drop all the things to connect below and namaste.
Namaste, my friend.